Hello everyone, welcome to this solo lane tier list from me, Sonic, a solo lane master of course. I'm only kidding. And here, today I'm joined with my solo friend, Saltboy. Say hi, Saltboy.
Hi.
So basically today we have this god pool here of all viable picks in solo. Here I've got a list of all characters that I would say is not viable in solo, so we're only picking these ones today. And we have S+, which is basically characters we think that should be nerfed and is just really strong and should be picked or banned most games. S is basically ban worthy and you should probably see it in most games, maybe not, but basically top tier. A+, just above average, not completely broken, you might not see it in every game, basically just above the point of balance. A is the point of balance, B being basically counter picks, a little bit below average, you might not see it in many games at all. And then C tier basically being trash, doo-doo, don't play. If you're playing it in ranked or comp, then you're trolling and you're literally ending. So, Saltboy, first god, Achilles. Personally, I think he's probably around A+. I think his lane is it's good. It's not unbeatable. It's not. I'd say it's near average. He can get counterpicked pretty easily, but he has a lot of strong picks in it as well. And then when it comes to team fights, I think he is again pretty strong. His execute is very important in team fights. His passive is very important in the fact that he gains power pretty early on and he can dominate solo. He works well with Bluestone at the moment. Warrior's Axe is also pretty good for him. What do you got to say about this one here?
Achilles is a good god, definitely A+. His lane, he's got a lot of things going for him in the lane. I would say it's above average laning.
Yep.
And he can be a good counter pick to a few gods in this tier list.
Yes, definitely.
His late game can be lacking though, with the execute being his best way to escape. Can be blocked.
Yep.
And he's only got one form of CC, that being a 1 second stun. He can't provide too much for the team.
Yes.
But it is a solid god, can be first picked.
Mm-hmm.
But you can get counter picked in it.
Yeah, he's definitely strong right now, and especially with the Bluestone / Warrior's Axe meta. And I do like my Bumba's Hammer on him as well, but I've been told that may be trolling.
Nah, it's like trolling for lane, but Bumba's Hammer is so funny.
Yeah, I like the Warriors, the Warrior Tabai rush early on, and then of course his 3 procs Bumbas passive 2 times on both of the hits, and his auto cancels are really good, so it also works pretty well with him. On to the next one, Amaterasu. She was pretty strong in the meta, like Season 7, Season 6, but you are not seeing very many Amaterasus. I wouldn't say she's exactly C tier in the fact that you're trolling if you pick her. I would put her B in the fact that her lane is meh. She can probably stalemate most lanes. There's not many counter picks she can have, but when it comes to the objective fights, when you're having that blink frenzy online and you have that aura with your speed or your damage to deal damage to those objectives, fire giants, gold furies and phoenixes as such, I think she does have some worth and use, and I wouldn't say she's exactly C tier in the fact that you'd be trolling if you pick her, because she does have her good uses. What do you got to say about that?
Her objective and team fighting, especially the objective, is so good.
Yep.
You have your passive, you have your aura,
yep,
and then with an ADC or high damage mid laner for objectives, you melt fire giants instantly.
Absolutely.
But her lane is very lacking. The only thing she's got going for her lane is the heal. The 2 is hard, like you have to clear too long of a cooldown. You can't really fight in lane. You have to stall.
The nerf on her too, damage and her ult really killed her, really in lane especially.
Yeah, she's gonna get absolutely slammed in lane.
Yep. I would also say that another problem is that she doesn't work well with Bluestone. She doesn't work that well with Warrior's Axe, since she's quite auto attack based. I've tried Leader's Cowl on her once, and I think she's literally the only viable pick for Leader's Cowl, because it gives you that power aura to your teammates, and it does actually work really well around objectives when you're team fighting. So it might be something you might look into, like with a niche build, like an aura build or something like that. But apart from that, I don't see much use with her in this meta.
If she's the best use of Leader's Cows, not saying much. Leader Cows, dog.
It is pretty trash, but she might be the only character to use it. Going on next to Aphrodite. You don't see many of these in your ranks or comp games, but you might see it in like...
I don't want to.
You don't want to?
I don't want to.
Are you saying B or C?
Probably B, could be A, but I just don't want to see this god. I hate this god. I hate fighting her.
She's very cringe, she's very boring to play and very boring to play against. She can stalemate any lane because of her healing and her ultimate, but it's just so boring to play Aphrodite. You just sit at the back healing your team. You're not playing the exact role of a solo laner when you're playing her, because you're sitting in the back healing your team, and your support is probably doing your job for you. But you can't put her in C tier because she does have some use, and she's not completely trolling. She does have some use, but
a very unorthodox solo lineup, but she could be possible for A, especially at the start of this season. She was a very good pick.
Yes,
at the top of everyone's tier list, but right now she's fallen off from there, and she's probably a B tier solo laner.
Yeah, but you can probably push her up in mid and probably support a little bit, but mid probably be a little bit more than B. But
best lane is mid.
Yeah, definitely the nerfs to healing and everything like that probably made her laning phase worse and stuff like that. Ares, I would also put Ares B in the fact that he's a counter pick god. You wouldn't put him average because you don't see many Areses around, but you can make him worth in the fact that he can counter pick some characters such as Arthur. He's pretty good into him. His ult is very useful in team fights. You could say that it's quite a solo laner-ish ultimate in the fact that you're putting enemies into your team for your team to deal damage. And I wouldn't say that he's completely useless. He's probably like worse than Afro especially in lane. Like his laning phase is pretty bad because his wave clear is pretty doo-doo. Go on.
His lane is doo-doo. He is a late game pick. For solo specifically.
Yep.
He's got so many tools that he can use for late game, but early game he doesn't have strong clear. He has to buy mystical to really clear lane. But he does have a lot of damage, especially level 3. 2 points into chains is almost double the damage from rank 1 chains.
I'm sure we've both laned against an Ares when we're full HP, and suddenly we've realised that our entire HP bar is gone because we've been chained 3 times and flamed.
Yeah, it's not nice.
His damage is quite surprising. You can say that the items don't really work well with him. You can probably slap a conduit gem on him or something like that. I wouldn't say...
Yeah, conduit gem's probably his best to help him clear.
Yeah, I wouldn't say Shroud is probably usable, and neither is Sands of Time either, so...
But his weakness is you can camp him very easily. Not even just kill him, just take his blue. He can't secure it on his own. He's got too many tick damage and no...
Yeah, his lane is just so bad you can just camp him and make him useless late game as well, really.
Yeah, slow down his late game potential, or just win the game from snowball.
Right, going on next to Artio. I would say Artio is probably A, in the fact that she's probably better than all of these picks, and her spam ability in her abilities, and the fact that she has that walking cripple, she can just spam the abilities like Arthur. She's just not as strong as Arthur right now. I would say Shroud works quite well with her. Her laning phase is quite okay. She can probably outclear, outbox anyone you can fight in solo. Not exactly outclear, but you can probably box anyone and get away with it. She's pretty safe. What do you got to say about Artio?
She is the best user of Vamp Shroud.
Yep, for sure.
For abilities that just hit the enemy and the minions very reliably, you're fighting a brick wall of health.
Yep.
When you're laying it against Artio, it's late game. Late game, she can be really useless without a high impact ultimate.
Definitely
and no
falls back.
DC immunity.
Definitely falls back late game.
Yeah, but if you're crippling someone like a Tyr, King Arthur, you can make them feel really useless late game, and you can act as a backline tank basically.
Absolutely. And you can definitely put her in between these 4 picks here. She's not exactly Achilles level, and she's definitely better than these 3. So I think is probably where she would probably be. Athena. Athena has been very good recently. I would either put her in A or A+. Her laning phase can actually be very good if you make good use of it. Say you have a teleport relic and you're just boxing in lane. You don't exactly get bullied by any solo lanes, because that 3 and Taunt is pretty useful. And when you hit level 5, you can make those rotations across the map with your ultimate, and then you can just go back to base, full heal, and then teleport back to lane. That's one thing that I really love doing with Athena, because she's never missing out on any farm. She's always in the fight. Her ult late game is one of the most important ults in the game, hands down. Her Taunt, again, one of the most important abilities in the game, hands down. The only reason why she's not up here is because her laning phase is not that great. She's not exactly bullying anyone out and like winning the lane completely. So I'd probably put her here just because of her flexibility and what she can do. What you got to say about Athena?
The Taunt buff for her has allowed her to solo, because you can hit the enemy with a Taunt.
Absolutely.
Then 3 the minions. Keep the minions all grouped up together and insta-clear the lane. She doesn't have to go for weird item pickups, and she can just play her game most of the time. Her laning phase against anyone below on this tier list is good.
Yep.
But since she can't buy Bluestone, she can't bully anyone above. Her ult, like you said, amazing. Mid game, late game, maybe you don't level it at level 5, but
you want that clear early.
You want the clear early, but the ultimate is so important, especially for out rotating the solo and getting your team ahead. It's a good supportive pick, but still does the solo job very well.
Yeah, for sure. I think A+ probably suits her. Awilix. I used Awilix in a game of ranked yesterday against Mr. Porden playing tier, and I absolutely bullied him out. I soloed him 2 times. I know it may not be saying much for those of you who don't rate Mr. Porden, but I really enjoy playing Awilix. I think she's very fun. I don't think I would put her quite A, because her clear is not good enough, and I'd say her late game is probably better than her early game, to be honest. But she does have her counter pick. She is quite useful late. She is good into quite a few characters. She's not exactly useless. And she actually is quite a very fun character to play in ranked. You're not going to see many Awilixes in solo, in comp at all. but it's probably a ranked pick you might want to think about if you want to have some fun and do some pub stomping. What do you think about Awelix?
Probably on the fun side of things, but overall usefulness, it is so specifically comp dependent. And if you're going into comp playing a Wheelix solo, it's C tier. But in a ranked setting where you can just tilt the enemy players, you could definitely see a B. But it's mostly because your jungle has a knock up or they have a jump. It's completely dependent on team.
Yes.
And most of the time you just should put it in jungle rather than solo, let's be honest.
Absolutely, you're only picking a Awelix solo if your jungler hasn't picked her already and there's quite a few like jumps, leaps or knockups in your team already. And that's why she's not completely useless, but I can definitely see why you'd want to put her in C. On to the next one, Baron Samedi. Again, I would probably say either B or A. Again, you don't see many Barons. He's very easily gankable because he has no getaway. His ult's probably his only safe bet, and he can probably root a jungler coming in to gank him, but late game he can probably be okay. He's not exactly like an Athena or an Achilles or anything. But he's not completely useless in the fact that he has some uses. He can heal his teammates. His ult is quite important in team fights and stuff. What do you got to say about Baron?
Baron can stall a lane out, but he is very easily gankable.
Yep.
And until you have defense, have fun with seeing the enemy jungler at your boo, in your lane, in your face, with a white and black screen, because
yeah,
you got no way to get out. You gotta heal.
Yeah.
That can get you out, but you have to hit both of them. It's very skill dependent on you.
Yeah.
But Baron late game is okay. It's nothing to scoff at. Healing and your ult can pull someone in.
Yep.
It's just a weak pick, and gotta be careful about those games.
Yeah, you got to get beads, and you just can't play aggressive at all. But it's the late game where he would probably be useful if you were to use him.
Oh yeah.
On to Bellona. We may disagree on this one. I'm not going to put her as high as you'd probably expect, but Bellona is my most played character with 7,000 worshippers, 6 stars on her. So I do have quite a lot of experience with her. Right now in this meta, I would put her A. Her lane phase is probably where she shines. Her early game is very good. She does have quite a few picks that do counterpick her very well, in the fact that her bludgeon just takes way too long to cast, and if it gets interrupted, then most of your wave clear is dead. Her one is pretty good into boxing ADCs, and her Scourge, of course, is a great disarm when you're diving that backline. If you are a good Bellona player and you know how to play her, you can bring her into the late game very well if you know what you're doing, but like I've said, she's just got too many counter picks in the fact that her bludgeon is too interruptible, so she's not exactly here. So I'd say she's pretty balanced. Items don't work with her that well right now. You're probably going to slap a Death Toll on her or an Animosity if you want to go that route, but Bluestone no, Warrior's Axe no. That's why I would put her in like the average tier. What you got to say about Bellona?
For me, Bellona is since you said it's dependent on their pick. I don't think she is quite A, because she has issues in the lane against certain matchups.
Yep.
And with Bluestone in the meta that she can't really use, most Bluestone users can just bully her out of the lane, and she's got no way to recover. She steamrolls some lanes. She gets clattered in some lanes.
It is true.
To say the least. But
it is true.
Her ult is on a low cooldown, 75 seconds, and that can really swing a fight. A good bludgeon mid to late game can swing a fight, but it's really hard to get these off.
Well, you might want to put Bellona B, but since she is my most played character and it is my tier list, I'm gonna keep her in A. But we can probably argue some other picks later on. But I'm definitely gonna keep Bellona there. Cabrakan. I won't lie to you. The only way that you're gonna get away with Cabrakan is if you're going full damage Cabrakan with Poly. He's very cringe. You can probably like absolutely clap some solo lanes in the fact that if you've got no one to interrupt his 3 when he's clearing minions, then he can probably just outclear every single wave and keep you at your tower line. But if you've got anyone who can interrupt that, then his lane is literally dead. And when it comes into the team fights, I don't see Cabrakan doing anything apart from rolling off people, which is what you're going to want to do with him in the support role. He's not a solo laner. Wait, what do you got to say about Cabrakan?
I'll be honest, Cabrakan's way higher. I don't know what you're smoking. Cabrakan's a piece of shit to deal with. His natural tankiness is absolutely crazy. I think his 2 gives him protections. With his mitigation passive, he's an absolute wall. And with his 3, he can insta-clear it. I wouldn't say he's A+ or anything, but he is a nuisance to deal with. And if you don't know the matchup, he can just roll his face all over you with 1-2s and his ult. He's quite nice to gank.
Yep.
With, because he's got so much CC, and I would say he's a B tier god because he can absolutely shit on people.
If you're pub stomping ranks, then I'll give you B.
Yeah.
Yeah. I have seen some Cabrakans literally tap lanes in ranks, so I'll give you B. But you can see what I'm talking about in the fact that late game he definitely falls off.
He
and
does fall off late game.
He's almost useless, but if you do get that early game snowball going, then you can probably win some ranked games with him. But he's probably on the lower end of the B tier in my opinion. But you like your Cabrakan, so I'll let it roll.
I don't like the Cabrakan. I just hate fighting him.
Fair enough. Camazotz. Now, I've played Camazotz against you quite recently, haven't I? And
yeah.
I definitely rate my Camazotz right now. I think Bluestone is really, really good on Camazotz right now. His laning phase is really, really good. His ult is completely safe. You're probably not going to get a kill off on Camazotz, especially if he's got bees and he just ults back under his tower again. His healing and sustain in lane is non-comparable. If you slap a Soul Eater on Camazotz in lane, you're never going to outbox him unless you get anti-heal pretty early, which you don't really want to do. He just pretty much outboxes every lane, and in the late game he does have his uses. He's not the strongest late game character in the world, but he can get some Bluestone procs with his 1 and 2, and his ult is definitely useful in late game as well. What do you guys say about Camazotz?
Camazotz really does use Bluestone well with 4 damaging abilities. He can always keep a double stacked Bluestone up most of the time. But his issue is the late game. His laning phase is one of the strongest because of his ridiculous sustain.
Yep.
But in late game, he's only bringing a slow as a CC. And his damage. He acts much more like a bruiser type solo laner.
Yes.
Where you dive under the back line, almost one-shot their back liner and just get out with sheer tankiness.
Yes.
But if they pick up a Tainted Steel, get into Tainted Breastplate, it's going to be much harder for you to do that late game. You're not going to have the same amount of tankiness using your healing.
Would you say A+ suits him, or would you bring him down to A?
A+ suits him. His laning can be a nuisance for a lot of gods on this list. And if he's the only heal on the enemy team, it kind of feels useless to get all that anti-heal just for him.
Yeah, definitely. You don't exactly want to buy a contagion first item in lane or anything either.
No, you got too many items to buy for solo laners.
Definitely, for sure. Against the next pick, Cerberus. Cerberus has quite a good early game in the fact that his clear with his 2 and 1 is pretty good. His 3 as well with the heal is pretty nasty as well. He looks pretty good with you can slap a conduit gem on him. You can probably get away with a shroud on him as well because you can probably proc his.
Probably go with the Warriors Axe too.
Yeah, you can go with
a lot of choices for starters.
And definitely his ultimates. In a lane, you can get some sneaky kills on the tower if the enemy solo laner doesn't have bees or an escape. And when it comes to that late game, Cerberus ult is very, very important in the fact that you're bringing characters out of position into your team, and it's definitely a huge bees burner. What do you got to say about Cerberus?
Cerberus can be one of those gods that you just pick all the time.
Yep.
But he's definitely got his uses. He gets counterpicked by any CC.
Yep.
So you got to pick it against someone who can't really stop your 2 in lane. But he is quite safe. He's got a really long range jump. His ult gives him CC immunity, and his passive is another thing you have to think about because against a heal team, he basically turns invincible, just stealing HP from healing.
True. Like a small little tainted amulet in his passive.
It's much better than tainted amulet.
Well, yeah, I think
amulet sucks.
Tainted amulet might be the worst starter item in the game. Apart from redstone, I don't think I've ever seen tainted amulet. I think I've seen it once in a casual game, and that is it. I don't think I've ever seen it. But
if you pick up tainted amulet, there's something wrong. Tainted breastplate is so much better.
They need to buff that item, to be honest. But anyway, Cerberus is a classic average character in the fact that his lane is pretty average, and his late game is pretty average as well.
Yeah.
Chuck.
I'm a master of Chuck.
You do like your Chuck, don't you?
I like my Chuck.
But when it comes to usefulness in ranked and comp, his heal is good. His sustain in lane is good. His wave clear with his 1 and his 2 is good, and his ult is pretty important. That silence is
he's got
long silence.
One of the best warrior ults in the game. Or the best. I would say he's A.
I would say he's A.
He uses Bluestone well to clear wave, but he also uses Warrior's Axe well. It's like perfect synergy. He uses an axe. You can buy Warrior's Axe. It just makes sense.
Very true.
His real weaknesses is that his lane compared to the top picks is very lacking.
Yes.
He can stall the lane out. He can always secure his blue buff with ult and 1. But if you're not getting a lead, you kind of feel useless late game, and that's his biggest problem.
Definitely.
His late game, he only brings his ult, which is good, and a slow, and his just raw tankiness. He's compared to some gods, it's just like a weak Cucullin.
Yep.
That's who Chark is to me.
A weak Cuckoo, probably yes. He's very early game based, and you don't really want to be using Chuck late game apart from his ultimate, like you said. You find him quite fun to play, but to be honest, I think Chuck is extremely boring. But we'll talk about that another time. Personally, I would probably put Chuck B, but since this is what you have said, I can see him being A. He's probably around these characters.
Chuck, you can pick him almost every single time. He isn't really dependent on comp or what you or counter pick. You can pick him.
Fair enough.
Doesn't really have a problem.
Chunga, probably a B. she's probably the same tier as Aphrodite in the fact that she does literally the same thing as her in lane and late game as well. They are kind of similar. Chunga's 3 can be kind of useful in the fact that it gives that anti-heal against the enemy, and wave clear is pretty strong with her 1-3 combo. It should usually full clear the wave, and she doesn't exactly get ganked that easily with her 2 and her ult, but since she has no movement, she can get ganked pretty easily. When it comes to the late game, she's not a front liner, she's definitely a back liner, and you can sit there healing your team, but she's not exactly C tier because she isn't useless, so I'd say counter pickable. What you got to say about Chunga?
She's good into the late game. Her ultimate is something you don't underestimate.
Yeah, for sure.
Group ult.
That length on that stun is pretty huge if you get multiple targets on it.
It's her early game, especially against a high pressure pick. She struggles, and most of this tier list is high pressure picks.
Think of sure.
Arthur and Cullen. If you get through the laning phase as Chunga, I mean, you're doing good so far.
You are doing good,
but it's just so hard to get through it. You can just feed your brain out with Chunga, but if you can stall that lane, she is definitely a good late game god.
Absolutely, except so why would you want to play her since she is so goddamn boring like Aphrodite?
I mean, just pick Chuck.
Just pick Chuck every game.
Every game.
Cthulhu. I would put Cthulhu A. He has definitely gotten a little bit worse since his release. He's been impacted by a bunch of nerfs, but his laning phase is pretty good. He can dash out of a gank. He's got his ult for his immunity, and he can definitely turn a gank pretty easily as well. His wave clear is pretty good. He can pretty much be a lane bully. He's got some counter matchups such as Achilles. He is very good into Cthulhu, and when it comes to the team fight, he is actually very good in late game fights, causing chaos in that backline, having that blink ult, getting all those knockups. It's very good for your team to play around that, especially in comp. But yeah, the impacts on his nerfs recently have put him down several tiers. On his release, I'd say is probably yes, but his nerfs probably put him in A. What you got to say about Cthulhu?
Cthulhu's got he is grandfather of Death Ball. With his ult and the percent HP healing, you just rally your team up and just run. But since all the ADC with crit and now into Chin size and transcendence, he really struggles with stronger ADCs in this season.
True.
But at the moment, if you've got a team that can just run it down as a 5-man, you're gonna run it down with
for sure.
Cthulhu.
His ult is very important, but like you said, Kin's absolutely
Kin's ADCs, crit ADCs, most ADCs just absolutely melt his HP bar.
Sometimes
you can't run.
Sometimes you just blink ult in and think you're going to do a massive ton of damage, then suddenly you're just dead. That's simply what it comes down to with Cthulhu. Let's go on to Cuchulainn then. Cuchulainn is notoriously one of the best solo laners right now. You're seeing him most games in SPL, apart from maybe 2 other ones you maybe want to think about playing. He did get 2 really decent nerfs to him recently, and he was basically known as the best solo laner quite recently. But I'd say that those nerfs do bring him down into S. His lane is almost unbeatable. He's got a couple of people who counter him, but you can bully anyone and you can probably stay him at any lane. Your early game and mid game is probably your strongest point, and your late game you can probably do a little bit, but it's probably your weakest point. Works very well with Bluestone Pendant since he can spam 4 abilities if you stack your rage well. But I wouldn't say that he is S+ tier. I'd say he's S tier. What you got to say about Akuku, Saltboy?
I'm in a disagreement here. S+ tier for Kukula.
Really? You think he should have more nerfs?
I don't know what they could do to him, but right now, he can be first pick every single team comp, still the best or like second best solo laner, and has very just almost no weaknesses. His early game is really strong with rage. His mid game is his best part. You can just one-shot someone. And his late game, he is the best initiation solo in the game, because you just blink, ult, knock up 3 people, use the rest of your kit, avoid damage with the jump, and then turn into rage form. You've got it all back again almost. He goes and goes.
If we're talking about this tier list in the fact that Akuku is among the strongest solo laners in the game, then I'll probably agree with you saying S+. And I wouldn't say that he needs great nerfs in the fact that he's completely broken. High res, please nerf. But in the fact that he is one of the best solo laners in the game, I would say S+ does probably suit him.
He is probably the second best solo laner in this game right now.
Okay.
But I don't know what they could nerf. Something.
Yeah, something small, I guess. I'd say he doesn't really... probably be a damage on his 1 or something, I don't know.
Yeah.
Anyway, Erlang Shen, damn, this character's fallen off a lot. Is he completely useless or is he counter-pickable?
I think he's completely useless.
You don't see very many Erlang Shens in solo at all. If you're seeing an Erlang Shen, it's probably going to be in the jungle, sometimes in support.
Yeah.
His ult takes way too long to cast, in the fact that if you're getting ganked and you want a bit of survivability, your ult just does not offer that, because your ult just takes way too long. You can probably snowball a casual game with an Erlang Shen with mannequin scepter or something in lane, but apart from that, he is near useless.
Yeah. No CC immunity on his ult basically means that he can get spam ganked by, I don't know, Wheelix or something like that.
Yep.
He has no other ways to sustain in lane, and most of his kit is just damage and CC.
Yeah.
And he can't really even clear wave that well. His 3 is probably his best ability for clearing wave.
Yep.
And that's also your escape.
You can say that he doesn't work that well with the items right now. You can probably get Blue Sun on him if you wanted to, but apart from that, not really many options you can have, and he doesn't really serve the option of a solo laner, really. You're picking Erlang to pretty much one-shot or be one-shotted, and I think that's basically what a jungler's role is more likely to do, not a solo laner. So don't play Erlang Shen in solo lane. Fenrir, I wouldn't say he's completely useless in comparison to Erlang Shen. I'd probably just put him in B, in the fact that he can probably counter-pick some characters, and his ult is always useful. His damage on his Brutalize is still very notable, and his lane is okay. He can't clear very well, but I'd say late game is probably his strongest point. Mid game is quite strong, but early game his wave clear is just not good enough, and he doesn't work well with any of the items either. What have you got to say about Fenrir?
Fenrir, I haven't seen much of Fenrir solo. I used to play him in the old map quite a bit, but Fenrir he doesn't farm the minions. He farms the enemy god.
Yes.
He's got all of the tools to farm that enemy god. He's got his 1 does a lot of damage, nice stun. His 2 with the 20 power, 30% healing, it's just ridiculous. And his brutalize, if they don't have a jump or way to cripple it, they're taking 600 damage for free.
Very true.
And his ult is a really good way to cheese kills, especially if they don't pick up beads or have a way to avoid it. You can just pull them into your tower, half HP them with that alone, then just chase them with the brutalize and jump. It is a very good pub stompy solo laner.
Yes.
It's just he struggles with lane in terms of clear.
I was just going to say he's a classic ranked pub stomper that you might want to play around with a little bit of fun. But
it's all dependent on what their backline is. If their backline has no way to avoid your brutalize and it picks like Thoth mid, you can slam a Fenrir solo and just absolutely run at him and they can't do anything.
For sure. Geb. He probably has some uses. His wave clear is quite very bad. He doesn't work with very many items. He's definitely going to get bullied in lane. The only reason you're going to be picking a Geb is for shields for your team or just complete late game fights. He's probably the lowest character out of these lot. But I wouldn't say that he's in C tier with Erlang because he does have some kind of uses.
I mean, Geb's pitiful in terms of lane clear.
Yeah.
Until he's got a high enough level and is 2, it's quite pitiful. He can also get camped really hard.
You probably want to get Conduit Gem on a Geb solo, don't you?
Yeah. But he can get camped really hard. He's got no real way to escape a jungle gank. He can't really secure his own blue buff. If you're getting camped as Geb, you're going to be useless. However, his late game potential is very good. He can use Bumba's hammer rather well.
He can
shield. Shielding teammates is still one of the most annoying abilities to fight against, and he's got one of the best engages with his ult and blink. It's just getting to that late game, which is almost impossible, really.
I'd agree with all of that for sure, but he's not exactly C tier because he does have some uses with his shield for sure. Guanyu in ranked is extremely annoying to play against. If you know me, I despise Guanyu in the fact that if you put 3 of your abilities into Guanyu, he's gonna hit it all back up again, and if you get too close to him and you have no interrupt for his 3, he's going to 3 you down and he's going to ult you and he is going to kill you. And his passive with his healing late game in team fights as well is just so important. He has been nerfed a little bit recently, which means I won't put him near S+ tier, but if you want to bully lane and you haven't got someone to interrupt your 3, then you're not going to complain about early, mid or late game. What do you got to say about Guanyu?
Guanyu definitely is S tier. He's got some bad matchups into God's Second Interrupt is 3. Like Achilles, but you can kind of circumvent that and level your 2 instead of the 3.
Yep.
It's his healing, his ult damage is utterly insane, and his 3 can shred and give you the protections that you need just to absolutely snowball lane into a really good late game death ball sort of solo laner.
Yes. And overall, it's very annoying in lane. Like you're just casually clearing minions and you get hit by a Guanyu 3. Like I was playing a ranked game with Sukiya solo against a Guanyu, and since your 2 takes too long to stun 1 out of his 3, and I like rushing my warrior tower on Sukiya because I like getting Bumba's hammer late. If you have no tankiness or interruptions for his 3, he's just gonna absolutely blast you down. He is a great bully in lane for those who don't have an interrupt.
He's got really good. He does 600 damage with his 3.
Yeah.
It says it all.
It straight up needs to be nerfed. I don't know why at the start of this season Higher is buffed that 3 damage. They are actually on some kind of drugs, and it needs to be absolutely addressed. That 3 damage needs to be nerfed ASAP. Please, Higher is nerf it. It is too annoying.
Stop calling next god.
All right, Hades. There's one character that I've got to put on this tier list, and that's Anubis, so I'm going to bring him in as well. Hades and Anubis basically played the same role in the fact that you're being pretty cringe and boring if you're playing them in a ranked game. You're not going to see them in a comp game. You just one-shot the lane, you got infinite life still, just go and build a Bancroft and a Typhon's Fang on them. You're never going to get outcleared. You can proxy every single lane to their Phoenix line, and you're not going to die, because if you get ganks, then your ult just one-shots people, especially with Anubis. And I'd say Hades probably has more use in a team fight with his ultimate, but yeah, if you're playing these two characters, then you're pretty cringe, and you should probably get a life.
I agree, but I wouldn't say Anubis is on the same tier as Hades.
Really?
Hades has got some uses. It's just kind of just a weird pick for Anubis. He is trash, but he can. If you don't respect the trash, he will just kill you.
Yes. You set a path to get beat against Anubis, or if you get wrapped, you are going to die.
I feel for ranked, you can definitely have him in B, but it's not really a B for counter picking or for your team comp. It's more like, hey, do you know how to deal with an Anubis and solo lane? No, you don't. I will win this. I will be annoying. I will be Anubis. I feel like Hades is more use.
Yeah,
with
true.
The silence and the ult can be really nice for the setup or team, but they do the same job.
I'd say for Anubis, it's exactly as we were saying earlier, in the fact that he's one of those characters you either absolutely pub stomp the lane like 10-0, or you're going to get absolutely farmed and you can't leave your tier 2 tower pretty much. But he does have some kind of use, and he's not C tier because he has that capability of just one-shotting people in solo lane if you don't get Bs especially. So I will leave both of them where they are. Hell, she's been better.
He's been better, yeah.
I would not just put her on the same tier as Aphrodite or Chang'e, because she's just so easily gankable, and I think she's the weakest, like the lowest HP character in the game, I believe. You can probably cringe a matchup with her clear with her 1-3 and her dark stance, and her healing is pretty substantial, but it is just way too risky. You're just gonna get camped as a hell, and late game you can be kind of useful in the backline healing your teammates, but she's just too bad in lane, I think. What you got to say about her, Hill?
She's got her lane in a 1v1 is good. She can clear the wave, she can poke really well.
Yeah.
It's if you're getting camped, it's going to be a real struggle because you kind of can't really react that much.
Yep.
In a late game team fight, if they don't buy anti-healing, she's insane. If they do, she's
useless.
She's almost useless. She's only really good for the cleanse overall.
Yeah.
Got against god picks that have easy to see CC like an Ares ult. You could see Hell solo, but most of the time she's kind of just trash.
Yep. Well, I'll let you take the next one by storm. Go for it, Hercules.
Hercules is just weird. He is by far one of the hardest gods to control. If you miss his one, you should die. You have to get the two to work well, and it's already buggy enough. But if you do get those, two pull into Herc pushing under the tower, they are gonna die most of the time. It's a really weird god. His early game is decent, but his late game's really bad because he doesn't have a strong ultimate ability.
So what kind of tier are you putting Hercules?
I'll put him in trash most of the time.
You'd put him C?
Yeah.
You
Um,
you strictly cannot say Hercules is useless. Okay, let's slap a breastplate, wing blade, and shield of regrowth on a Hercules. He is almost near unkillable with his 3, just running around the map. His 2 and 1 is so important. It's a great beads burner, and it can take someone out of position so easily. And his ult damage is just so good. His passive in lane can bully a lot of matchups, and late game he's okay in the fact that he does what a solo laner wants to do, which is have CC and pluck people out of position. So I'd probably put him B tier.
too hard. Got too hard. Also, the 2 is really buggy. But
Are you happy
B tier
with
is
B?
fine enough. Yeah, I'm happy with B. It's not balanced though. He sucks too much.
Okay, maybe I've got to play you a Hercules in a scrim match then and show you what Hercules is really like.
Yeah, sure.
Jormungandr.
Yeah, he's trash.
There is no words to describe this character. He needs a major buff instantly. He is he the worst character in the game? Hands down.
I don't know about worse, but he's the worst solo laner. He's.
I think Arpash is better than Jormungandr. I don't see anyone here who is better than a Jormungandr.
He's just a big snake. I mean, there's not much to say. Just pick someone else.
Yeah, I mean, maybe there should just be a new tier for Jormungandr, which is just if you pick this character, you are going to lose the game. I am just sorry. If you are picking Jormungandr, you are trolling. Okay?
There's probably a Jormungandr that's gonna cry, but I don't know.
There probably is.
Yeah.
Right,
This
King
god,
Arthur.
no introduction. Just put it all the way up there. Go next god, because this is the best solo laner.
We've got to talk about him. King Arthur. He has the strongest lane in this god pool here. I would say he has the strongest lane. His damage is just insane. His CC is just insane. His lane is insane, and his team fighting is insane. I don't know where you can possibly go wrong when you're playing an Arthur. And
He's got
Bluestone.
really no weaknesses.
Bluestone is literally made just for King Arthur. I know that it's an old item and it was created before King Arthur was even created, but Bluestone is just absolutely insane on King Arthur. And if you're getting any other side item on King Arthur, you need to get in the bin.
The only thing I would say about King Arthur is that his 1 to 5 isn't the best, but as soon as you get past a 1 to 5, you got your
that Son of Gaia
defense.
online.
Yeah, Gaia just makes you invincible, and you run this game for the next 30 minutes.
Another thing you can probably capitalize on Arthur is when you know that he has no charge, or he's just died and come back from base and he has no charge. You can,
but I think just from Gaia and more defense items that he just purchases, he just gets too tanky to really punish him.
He's been the strongest solo laner in the game for over 2 entire seasons now, and the only nerf Hi-Rez has put on him is the recent patch where they've gotten rid of a little bit of mitigations from his passive, which I think is actually ridiculous. They need to nerf this character more in damage or cooldowns or something.
This god's too hard to pilot. Like, most half-brain King Arthur players just can't pilot him correctly.
Are you trolling?
No.
Literally smash your face on the keyboard.
Yeah, I mean, smash your face on the keyboard, and that's how you do it.
Alright, let's leave him at that. Kuzambo.
Yeah. I have no idea. I actually have no idea.
I have been playing a lot of Kuzambo solo lately, and I think he is either here or here. But if you know how to play Kuzambo, you can do a lot of work. His blue clear is one of the fastest in the entire game. There's a perfect spot on the blue buff you can get a triple bounce on, and he will instant clear the blue buff with just that alone, and you'll get those 6 minions, which means you'll hit level 3 on the second wave. His 3, even after the damage on the 3 was nerfed and the maneuverability in his 3 was also nerfed, he is still so strong. If you are against a Guanyu, for example, and he's casting his 3 and you push him through 3 minions, he is in a lot of trouble. There are a lot of matchups where Kuzambo's going to absolutely bully you. There's a lot of matchups where he will absolutely bully you. And his 2 in a late game fight, not only are you soaking up a ton of damage, but your cooldowns are insane. I was trying Bumba's Hammer on Kuzambo. There was a Fine OK video about it quite a while ago. Bumba's Hammer on Kuzambo is actually broken. It needs to be looked at. Honestly, Saltboy, try Bumba's Hammer Kuzambo. He is something else. This character is very underrated. Do you have anything to say about Kuzambo?
Is that your spice of the month pick?
I guess it is, yes.
Fair enough.
And one more character that is coming soon.
One more character? What, next god or just
in 2 gods' time.
2 gods' time. Alright.
But I can see him in B. But honestly, guys, just try Kuzambo. He is very, very good. Honestly, just try him. Loki, again, I would put Loki A.
I would put Loki A, yeah.
His laning phase, it's not the best, but he can bully a lot of people. His wave clear is pretty good with his 2 and his 3, and his decoy is still very useful. And his ult after the Loki rework is very, very useful with the cripple and then the big damage setting up for his next abilities. He is very strong, and Bluestone works amazingly on him as well. And you can probably slap a Warrior's Axe on Loki as well, because if you just send out your 2 and get a massive Warrior's Axe proc every 5 seconds, Sundering Axe proc, sorry, every 5 seconds, he is very, very good. What have you got to say about Loki, Saltboy?
Loki is still annoying. He's just not boring.
Yeah, he's quite fun.
He is quite fun to fight against, compared to his before work. But his ult is in a late game team fight. It can be an engaged tool. He can act like a very bruiser kind of one-shot solo laner.
Yep.
Similar to Camazotz.
Yep.
And with Bluestone, he can just insta-clear waves very nicely.
He's quite underrated, and you can get away with Loki in your ranked games for sure. I remember Fine OK talking about it recently. He was planning on playing Loki in comp as well, even though you haven't seen him in comp in solo yet. But Fine OK also thinks that he's viable in solo as well, and he's been getting slight buffs recently as well with damage to his 3 and stuff like this as well. So again, try some Loki with Bluestone. He's pretty decent. Mulan, now this is my flavor of the month. She got 2 really big buffs recently. With her 1 with the attack speed lasting longer.
With the duration on the buffs and what ult?
And her 3 stun duration, which also works well with her 1 and 2. Get a Bluestone on a Mulan, and I don't think you're ever going to lose lane. I have played 9 or 10 ranked games with her in the past few weeks, and I have never lost a lane with Mulan, and her late game is quite important with her pull. If you get a pull off and they don't have beads or CC immunity, it's basically like a Hercules pluck or an Ares or something like that. It's very important, and I think this character is quite underrated.
Yeah, I think she's underrated. She definitely uses Bluestone with 4 damaging abilities really well. And she probably can play both a assassin kind of play style or a tank play style. So she's quite flexible in her build that she can build. I think her issues really come from getting camped in solo. She has no real solid way to escape until later on.
I did like the fact that they made it so you can cancel your ults now, though. If you do ult under your tower and then immediately cancel it, you do have some pretty good getaway, and then 3 put yourself to a wall.
Other than that, like her ult is the only way to escape, and if her ult is down, she really just has to fight to get away with the gank.
Yeah. Personally, I would honestly think about putting Mulan in an A+ tier, but we haven't been seeing her enough.
She has too many problems with getting camped and solo.
We'll see. I think we'll see a lot more Mulan soon, and maybe I'll play her in scrims against you. I asked Scroll if I can play Mulan in scrims, and he said no. I'm gonna play Xing Shan jungle if you play Mulan in solo.
Yeah, I want to try some Mulan. It's just like, I don't really find some sort of team comp she can work with. But as a solo laner, she's quite strong.
Yeah, she's like a ranked pub stomper, for sure.
For sure.
Naja, B tier, I'd say. He is not useless. He definitely has his usefulnesses, and he has some counter matchups. The sash is very, very important. The ult is super important. It's very good late game, and you can probably get some execute kills with your sash ult if they don't have beads. Your wave clear is meh. You can probably half clear a minion wave with your ring toss, but apart from that, you're gonna have to get up close and personal with your solo laner with auto attacks, and that's not what you want to do most of the time. So he can get bullied quite a lot, but the heal is good to sustain in lane. The ring toss on the totem is underrated. Ring toss overall is a great ability, and the sash and the ult is very important. What you got to say about Naja?
Well, Naja could be A tier, but B tier is absolutely fine as well.
Yeah.
He can definitely be. You can always do the Naja and Tassila ult combos and stuff like that.
Shout out to Carter.
Yeah. You can always do that type of strategy. It works on any level of play. And if you don't want that Naja in the jungle and you rather want it in solo, that's utterly fine. It's just his laning phase isn't like that strong.
Yep.
But you can always get away with some good kills, especially with the ult damage. Can never be underestimated.
Yes, for sure. The ult is very, very important, and so is the sash late game as well. So you can never go wrong with an Naja really, but the early game, like you said, is quite a problem. Nike. Nike has definitely had her strong points recently, but ever since the Sunder and Cursed Ankh edition, where Ankh can get rid of half of a shield and Sunder can get rid of a shield completely, Nike has fallen off a little bit. But Nike is quite a bully in lane. There's not many sums where you're gonna be losing lane as a Nike, especially with Bluestone with your 4 damaging abilities. But also your late game is pretty good with your ult slow as well, and just raw damage with your Bluestone procs. Your 1 is huge damage. 2 is very good if you're like getting auto down by an ADC in a team fight. Just put your 2 up and you're soaking in like a ton of autos from the ADC. Honestly, if it was not for the Sunder and Ankh changes, I would see Nike a lot higher, but Sunder and Ankh is just too good in her. I can maybe see her in A+, but just the Sunder and Ankh changes put her down in A, I think.
I will agree, but I mean, have you ever dealt with Thorns to counter it? Have you thought about that? You ult, you Thorns, you get Sundered, and you basically kill the enemy person.
Yeah, you can definitely think about doing that.
You could also do that with Bracer of Undoing.
Oh, here we go. Here comes the Saltboy strats.
I've never done this before, but I've heard about it, and I kind of want to do it, but I don't see much of the point when you could pick a much better god.
I was hearing,
but it is a very funny thing to do.
I was hearing about Fine OK recently. He was playing a bit of Nike in his ranked games, and he wanted to get Aegis on Nike to try and Aegis an incoming Sunder when he's altered. And that could also be a thing to think about.
That could be a thing.
Yes.
Or you could just brush off on doing it.
You could.
You could.
Nike is definitely someone to think about. Her damage, like I've said, is just so good.
But with memes aside about the relics, she can really easily stall out lane from surviving with the ult, and her clear is very nice. I'm not too sure about bullying people at lane, but her 2 late game is one of the best anti-ADC zoning tools.
For sure.
And you can easily cheese some kills with the 2 as well.
Yeah.
The 1 is very reliable on the jump. Can be some good setup CC for a vast snipe for your mid laner.
Yeah, for sure.
It's definitely a decent god.
Odin, you can take this one because you play a lot more Odin solo than I do, so you can go ahead with this one.
It's a strange one. Odin in lane isn't shit.
Yeah, he's actually okay.
It's fine, but it's like it's just dependent on how much value you can get out of your ult, especially on the enemy team side. Mm-hmm. If you can trap 3 or both their backliners, they're gonna have to. You're forcing them to buy a Phantom, and that's quite big.
Yeah,
but he isn't the best solo laner for laning.
I feel as if Odin is definitely the most inconsistent solo laner, because if you have a player who knows how to pilot him, he can be here, whereas you can have someone who can put him here.
I think he's A. You could probably pick him every game, but it's a god that you should pick as a situational pick. And dependent on what the enemy comp is rather than your comp. I think he works with most team comps. He does what a solo laner does.
It's definitely about who's piloting him and how you're using him, but he can have a lot of tools to use in a team fight, especially.
Yeah, I'm surprised that you can't talk much about him. He is broken with Bumba's hammer.
I honestly have not played him enough.
You should play him with Bumba's hammer. I know you love your Bumba's hammer.
I've literally got Odin Mastery 2, I believe, and I do not.
You have to try Bumba's hammer, Odin. That is a treat.
All right. Well, if you're
I do that in comp games.
If you're trying Mulan and Kuzambo for me, then I'll try some Odin Bumba's hammer for you. All right.
Yeah, you better. You love Bumba's hammer.
I do. I do love Bumba's hammer, and we all know it. Osiris. Osiris is quite strong right now. There are quite a few times where you can probably put Osiris in S tier, and he's getting picked quite a bit in SPL recently as well. He is the definition of a lane bully. Spam those ones on like a 3-second cooldown and get that 2 as well on them to get that slow like multiplier. His autos are very good. His tether is a great setup for his 1 and 2, and is a very good late game as well to mitigate some damage. And 100% anti-heal on his ultimate is very important as well, and I can definitely see Osiris being in S tier at some point. What do you think about Osiris?
Osiris has got 2 very good start items. Sundering Axe, maybe not Warrior's Axe, it's kind of slow for the lane, but Sundering Axe, he can spam Sundering Axe, and he can become a mage using it, just poking the enemy team out. Sure. But you can always go Bluestone for some lane pressure as well.
What about Animosity?
Animosity, I think Animosity for late game, I would rather have Sundering Axe, because you can just spam it and abuse Sundering Axe's passive so well with them.
For those of you who Q ranked with me, you definitely know that I do love my Osiris Animosity in a ranked game, but in a comp game, I would definitely not pick it up, but it is quite fun to use for sure. Getting like a Frostbound talisman, Void Shield, Toxic Blade on him is very nice with an animosity on him actually.
But he is the definition of just a lane bully and a poke solo liner with 2 ranged abilities. His 2 being like just insanely quick, hard to juke.
Yeah.
He can just poke out any solo laner if he wants to.
For sure.
He can always dive. His ult isn't the best ultimate, but you can always dive using the ultimate, get in with the ult, tether some people, take no damage, and
the anti-heal is very important as well.
Oh yeah, but that's if you hit it.
Yeah, like, what is it with hitting Osiris ult? By the way, let's just talk about this for a second. I swear Osiris ult, like, circle is so tiny, and it takes so long to cast as well.
It's so slow and so small. It's like, if you hit it, goddamn.
Yeah.
But you're gonna miss it. It's so delayed.
Yeah,
it's by far his weakest ability in his kit.
It is so slow, and the circle is so small as well.
Yeah.
Like, compare
He's
Osiris ult
he's got
to
no
like
setup
Bellona
as
ult or
well
something.
for himself. Oh yeah. Bellona ult, you hit 3 people easy peasy, but with Osiris I was like,
you're lucky if you hit
missed
1.
3 people.
Yeah.
I missed all those people. It's so slow.
Very strange ultimate. Pele, I can see Pele being seen more in solo lane now that Shell has been nerfed quite a bit, considering her ultimate autos where it's like going in a cone is very important.
Yeah, it doesn't get stopped from Shell anymore.
Yeah. I'd say she's definitely stronger in the jungle, but you can probably stomp some ranked games in with Pele.
Her damage is very surprising.
Very good damage from Pele.
And with the ult, she can turn a lot of fights with the passive and the ult damage. You can definitely turn some 1v1s in solo really well.
I think we'll definitely see some more Pele in our ranks and comp, maybe in the jungle for sure with the Shell nerf.
Oh yeah.
Ratatoska, I'd put Ratatoska A. I think his wave clear is very good. You can just sit in the middle of the brute minions and the archers with your 2, and of course you're most likely going to be getting the black acorn on Rat for the double 2 and the prots and stuff like that. And his wave clear is actually very good with Bluestone, and of course he's got the 4 abilities that proc it very well. The 3 is a very great ability. If you hit it, it can be quite hard to hit. And the 1 is okay. It's quite a good getaway, and I'd probably not recommend dashing into someone in a team fight, but it procs Bluestone in lanes, what can you say? And then the ultimate, of course, is quite good late game as well, mid to late game.
Yeah, he's definitely not built for solo.
No.
Minions do so much damage.
True.
He's got such low plots that minions could 1v1 him.
Probably.
But in a late game scenario, the Bluestone damage, the double Spinneroonie, it does so much damage. He's a backline menace, and he can just kind of go in. He can definitely bully some of the top solo laners. I've been bullied as a Capellan against a Rat, but some he gets bullied, some he doesn't. It's just the early game when you don't have your Acorn, it really, really sucks.
It does suck pre like level 3-4 when you get that Acorn online, but
yeah.
Apart from that, Rat is okay. I think if there was like a B+ tier, I'll probably put Rat there. I don't think he's like on the same length as some of these characters, but
yeah.
I'd also
but he's definitely decent enough.
I would also put Robin on like B+-ish tier with Rat. I have a lot of fun with these 2 characters in solo when I'm playing ranks and I'm trying to puff stomp a lane.
I do like Robin. I'd never play it, but I love his passive.
Yeah, I think Bluestone with Robin is underrated. His 1, you can spam it. You've got 4 damaging abilities. You've got the 3 for the small sustaining lane. If you do it on 3 lane minions, you can get some sustain off of it. The wave clear is okay. You're probably going to be in auto attack range, so you're probably going to get bullied from the likes of these characters here.
Oh yeah,
But,
definitely one.
He's definitely a fun character to try out in a rank game or something like that. Maybe B+ tier with Rat though. I'd probably put him.
Yeah, I mean it's a assassin solo. It's like you can do it and late game be a menace on the backline, but it's gonna be annoying for sure.
I'm gonna add this.
What B+? It's gonna change a lot of things.
Who are we gonna put? Oh, wait, no, that's.
Yeah, that's B+ below it. Come on. I mean, I would say you got to raise some in B, right? Naja. Go to B+. What else? What else?
I don't think anymore. Maybe Odin and B+, maybe.
Yeah, B+.
We put Odin here, come on. There you go. And maybe RCA, maybe? Chuck?
No, I think Artio is... No, Chark. For me, Chark belongs in SS.
Alright, we'll leave him there.
We'll
leave him there. Set.
I think he's A+, for sure.
I think I'd probably put him A+ as well. Inadvertently buffed from Shell Nerf. I think Set probably does a little bit better with the Shell Nerf. After the Bumba's nerf that doesn't proc his 2, I think he definitely fell off a little bit.
I think that's more of a bug rather than a thing.
What do you mean?
Or is it like using the 2?
He used to proc Bumba's proc with his 2. Like he placed 2 Bumba's proc, 2 Bumba's proc, 2 Bumba's proc, so his 1 was always up.
Oh, yeah. That was that nerf, that's for sure.
Yeah, that was start of season 8. That was like 8.1, 8.2, 8.3. That's what. That's why his set was. Set was the best character in the game by far because of his Bumba's 2 procs.
Yeah. But Set it in a solo. He can. He does have some. He's got a very weak level 1 to 5.
Yeah.
But as soon as he's got the ult, as a Set player, you see them make one tiny mistake, 100 to 0. They can't do anything.
Yep.
You know, using your escape to clear lane, something like that, you're gonna get dove on by the Set immediately, and you're gonna like die or get away with no HP at all. It is crazy how much a punish game he's got.
Yeah, Set's late game with his ultimate is something else. If a player knows how to pilot Set correctly, in good hands, Set is extremely dangerous.
Yep.
And that's why you see him banned in ranked.
He's definitely got some problems though, and he's definitely like in a comp environment he can definitely get counter built, counter picked.
CC is a problem.
CC and anti-heal will ruin his life.
Yep.
Because he can't dive as hard. He has to really think about if he can or can't dive. But if he can basically free cast, go on to 2 backliners, kill them both immediately, he is an absolute nuisance, and he's still decent in lane just because you make a mistake and you have to deal with that Set ultimate immediately.
Yeah, for sure. Sobek, I'll probably put Sobek in B for counter picks. You don't see Sobek in solo at all anymore.
I would actually say he's A+. He's just really boring and you don't want to play him.
Sobek A+?
Yeah, Sobek, he can
Sobek
always... Yeah, he can always stall out the lane. With just his defense, his ult, and his wave clear is still decent. He also uses Vamp Shroud really well. And in late game, you still got the Pluck, a very good like single target CC. His issues come really from just him being a Guardian, can't be using Bluestone. But he is quite good, and you can always pick him most of the time. It's just
Sobek is
his
definitely a
support is
weird
better.
one in the fact that he is incredibly boring to play for one. His laning phase is quite bad. Even if you have the Vamp Shroud and a little bit of damage, like Purple Boots, for example, even with a 3 and 2, he's still not going to full clear the wave, which means he's going to sit there autoing the wave for like 10 seconds, and that's just so awkward. Sobek's totem clear is probably the worst in the entire game, maybe. Like, he does like 20 and auto on the totem.
No, Ares is worse.
Okay, Ares, I guess.
Yeah, but he can't really do anything by himself. He is a guardian, of course, so he can't really build like he can't build bluestone. He can't really auto attack many things, but he stalls out the lane. If your jungle warriors comes for your blue buff, and you want a really good late game pick, Sobek is really good. It's just you would see him more in a support rather than a solo.
Are you sure A is good for him?
Yeah, I don't think he's a situational pick. He can just be a pick that you can pick most of the time. Okay. It's just who wants to play him.
I would probably put Sobek in B+, but I will leave him there for now.
Yeah.
Wukong. I think I'll probably put Wukong in S. The reason why is because you're seeing him in a lot of SPL games, which means he is comp viable. He is super good in ranks. You're not exactly going to die very easily in lane as a Wukong. You just have that Eagle get away, you have the ult get away, the heal is insane. Some Wukong passive is still broken, high res please nerf. He heals way too much and it gives him way too much power and stuff. His wave clear is insane, just cudgel the wave and it's gone. And then you've got 3 abilities to use on the enemy solo laner, so classic lane bully. His rotations are very good. He can eagle to mid lane and stuff like that. He can proxy, he can do a lot. He's very flexible in what he can do.
If Sun Wukong has his ult up, he is unkillable.
Yep.
He heals for 25% of his HP. He avoids everything. He's just in the air on his just fart cloud and he's just gonna jump away. He is such an annoying lane opponent because he can bully you, but you can't bully him. It is super hard to just get a solo kill against a Sun Wukong because he's got every single tool under his belt just to say, no, fuck off. He can always secure his blue buff. He can always just avoid death. And he can insta-clear waves, rotate really quickly, and be a nuisance for your entire team.
I'll do this a little bit later, but when I think about Wukong, I always compare Wukong to Vamana. I'll talk about it when I do him, but they do offer very similar things actually, but I will talk about it later. Thanatos. He's like a classic ranks / casual pub stomper.
I think he's B+, just as a ranked god. He has a really good initiation with his ult.
I'm putting Pele in there as well then.
Yeah. Thanatos as a lane opponent, kind of similar to Fenrir. It's just, I would say he could be picked up more often compared to Fenrir.
Yeah.
It's just how well you hit your size.
I feel as if Thanatos builds a lot differently to the rest of the characters here as well, in the fact that you're always going to want to build more damage than prots on Thanatos. You're probably going to want to slap like a Transcendence on him in lane or something, because you don't want like a Glad Shield. You can probably get away with like Shifters, Void, then maybe a Spectral, and then get like Trans or like Ansile or something, so a little bit more power based.
Beat stick, stuff like that. Instead of going defense second, you could probably just go with more power and try to bully them even harder.
If you do know how to play your Thanatos in lane, then he will do very well. And late game, his execute is of course quite quite important.
It can be used as a finisher. It could be used as a good initiation.
Yeah, I'll see that.
As a ranked pick, but I don't know about competitive.
Yeah.
Really.
Ranked, he's definitely okay. Thor, I'd probably put on the same
Yeah, he's kind of
tier
similar.
as Thanatos. They do kind of similar things. Thor probably has a better ultimate, I'd say, than Thanatos.
Yeah.
His one is quite good with his wall combo, the 2-1 combo. His hammer just does so much damage in lane. Like, if you have Warrior Sabai and then teleport to the lane level 3, he can get rid of half of the enemy solo laner's HP with just his hammer straight up.
Yeah.
Thor's damage is nothing to scoff at, but apart from that, his laning phases are quite a little bit poor. He can be quite gankable since his ult takes quite a bit of time to get off. But he's like a casual ranks pub stomper, I guess. If you want to have some fun and do a bit more damage rather than build procs like Thanatos, I guess.
Thor's problem really just comes to most of his damage in lane comes from his escape. It's kind of similar to Erlang Shen, but Thor's got a very good initiate with his ult.
Yeah, just look at Thor ult compared to Erlang Shen ult, like in a solo lane.
It's a big difference. A rotation from Thor is it is a jungle gank basically.
Yeah.
But he is a very difficult god to like work well.
Sure.
His one is hard to double tap as well.
Well, look who's next. If it's not the supersonic Yomi or whatever I've been called in the past. Probably gonna be biased opinion ? But I'm putting this character here. I don't know if you're gonna agree with this, but
kind of agree.
You kind of agree?
A plus or S. He is a piece of shit.
This character,
I mean, look at him.
This character is still so good, and he has been nerfed about 4 or 5 times, literally.
Oh, dude, just look at him. He oozes just prick.
All you gotta do, right?
And he is a prick.
I'll teach you guys how to play Tsukiomi solo, right? Don't get a starter item, don't get Bluestone Pendant. Whatever any solo laner is teaching you to build on Tsukiomi. I know Haddix and Nika are building Bluestone. Don't do it. Rush Warrior Tabai. Get beads in lane. All you got to do is put your 3 down at the enemy tower line so that the minions walk through it and then 1 them. So you've got your 2 to box the enemy solo laner with when they're clearing your wave. Your 1 is like on a 3-second cooldown if you pick the shuriken up from the front minion, and you can get so many easy kills with Tsukiomi in lane, and it's near unbeatable apart from probably these 4, maybe Achilles, maybe these 3 as well. He can probably have a hard time against. But it's where his late game comes in. Tsukiomi's late game, his rotations are insane. It doesn't matter if you place wards in mid when there's a Tsukiomi ganking you from solo, because he's going to ult you and he is going to kill you. And when it comes to late game, objective sieges, phoenixes, fire giant, the Tsukiomi just fights so unbelievably well. He can get a big ult off, he can turn a fight by himself. This character's underrated and he needs to be played more, even though he is so annoying.
I hate this god, that's why he's in this.
And I love him. I love Sukiya. I think he's so fun to play, but he's so annoying to play against.
You walk into the lane and it's a guy just spewing projectiles out all of the time. And it's so annoying to fight.
Just so everyone knows, ever since I started playing Tsukiomi in scrims about a month ago for the Vulpes EU League, he has been banned against me every single game. I have not been able to play Tsukiomi in a scrim in about a month, because he's always banned against me.
I mean, he's still good in the jungle. Don't think it's all because of you.
I don't know about that. I mean, Scroll Tsukiomi is something else, but
but no, this god is just crazy good in solo as well as jungle.
I think he probably needs some nerfs, to be honest.
Oh yeah. Probably his ult.
Yeah,
Don't know why it does so much.
they keep nerfing his ult damage, I think 2 or 3 times, and it's still pretty much half shots people.
Yeah.
In lane and mids and carries and stuff like that. Stuff like that. Tier, I put in tier S or A plus. He can definitely
S.
have some uses in both of them. I think you can argue both, but
This god, you pick him and you win lane. If you lose lane as tier,
you're trolling.
you are literally the worst. It is impossible to lose.
It is very true. His blue 2 is absolutely uncontestable. It can heal you for like what 300?
Max rank, yeah.
In a ranked game, when you have no comps, how are you gonna know that a tier isn't gonna come and blink fearless you and you're just dead? How do you know? How are you supposed to know? He's been seen some appearances in SPL as well, just purely because of his lane pressure, and his team fights are okay in the fact that he can blink fearless someone. He's an easy beast burner, and his team fighting is okay as well. But the early game is probably the best early game character in the game, solo, right?
As soon as like your gods like King Arthur and Guanyu get out of their like 1 to 5 slump and get into the kind of mid game area, here is uncontestable. 1 to 5 in terms of levels, like uncontestable.
Yep, absolutely. His early game is way too good.
He insta clears wave at level 2, and then level 3 he can half HP you if he does a fearless into combo. And he's just a nuisance to deal with if he wants to. He's a prick.
Absolutely, yeah. The mana, right. Here is where we're going to disagree, okay? I don't know if it's just my Vamana, but if it was my own personal tier list, I would put Vamana here. And I'm not going to put him here, I'm going to put him here, but my own personal tier list, I think Vamana is like a Sun Wukong, like I've mentioned previously. Vamana is one of those really annoying characters where you can just clear away with your 3 and 2, and then dash away. You can go and proxy by the tier 2 tower, and then you can 3-2 that, and then dash on the Phoenix. And guess what? It doesn't matter because you can't get ganked as a Vamana. Is just ult and walk away, and then when your ult's finished, just dash away again. Vamana is the slipperiest character in solo in the fact that he can just clear waves and just run about and do exactly what he wants. I've played Vamana in ranked so much, and he is just such a pub stomper in lane and late game as well. Even though if you're in comms, you're probably going to be buying a curse tank against Vamana, and that is his number 1 weakness. You can probably get a Sundra on him as well, and it can also do the same effects. But yeah, ranked pub stomping with Vamana is something else, and he should be played more. To be honest, what do you think about this character? Should he be here or here?
I would say A plus. I feel Sun Wukong's more evasive than a Vamana. However, they do this kind of do the same thing.
Yes.
Just clear wave.
Are you putting him
I would
A+?
say that I would put him A plus because I think Sun Wukong does what he does.
Okay.
Just a bit better because he can't get countered too much. Vamana, your curse Ankh upgrade, he insta heals, and then you've got the curse on 20% damage. Sundawn, the big baby, you're taking 40% extra damage.
Yeah.
You're getting shit on. Like, you actually become a squishy, even though you're getting extra protections, extra healing, extra shielding. You are a squishy at that point after those 2 relics.
He's kind of on the same wavelength as Odin, where I was talking about Odin being like here sometimes, but here sometimes. I feel as if in ranked Vamana is here, but in comp he's literally here. Like, if you build
I wouldn't say he's shit in comp. It's just there are a lot of tools to shit on Vamana in a comp playstyle. In ranked, those tools are still there. Someone can still always get cursed Unk, and they'll just go, well, we just focus the baby. But for mana in a like low level ranked game, he would run the game and hypercarry. He is one of those gods.
I'll just end it with play around with the mana, guys. Just see what you can do with him. I know I'm just being biased because I'm placing him here because I've got 2 stars on him and he's one of my he's one of my favorite characters to play, hands down.
Bias Barry.
I will place him in A+ just for Saltboy. Xing Chan probably. He's probably on the same. Yeah.
B+ or A.
He's probably on the same wavelength as like a Sobek, but
yeah.
I said I would put Sobek in B+, but you said he'd be an A, and I think Xing Shan's better than Sobek in lane. Like, I'd swap these two around personally. I think Xing Shan's better than Sobek.
I'll put them in the same tier, to be honest. They do the same thing.
Okay, I'll put them in A then.
It's kind of the same idea. They can't build Bluestone because they're a Guardian. And they can't clear wave that well because they're a Guardian.
Yeah.
If it wasn't such a Bluestone meta, you would see these much higher up.
True.
And individually, they are quite decent. However, right now, they are very good late game. Sobek's good in late game. Xing Chen's like almost unkillable late game. And both of them have got good value. Sobek's got his pluck, Xing Chen's got his ult. And they can stall their lane now quite easily. So I think 8 is fine for both of them at least.
Okay, I'll roll with that. But early game is their big issue. And that's why I would argue both of them being B+, because their early game is just not good enough. But you are right in the fact that their late game is very useful. So I'll keep them there. Ymir, I don't think Ymir is on the same wavelength as these characters, unfortunately, and
no.
I don't think his lane is good enough, even though he has got that wall and that freeze. I think he's probably B tier.
His lane, I would say, is better than both of them, Sobek and Xing Chen, because his auto damage, his 2 damage, his ult, you could see some value from a jungle gank, and his freeze are nothing to scoff at. And late game, his viability comes from using the wall effectively. You know, being in a jungle, walling off the a tank and just isolating them. It is a very good late game god. It's just not on the same level as Sobek and Xing Chen. And Ymir does have some counter picks against like slows and CC.
I think
because he can't really walk away.
The thing about Ymir is if he's open, you are 99% of the time going to pick him in sub. Like, we all know this.
Yeah.
But you're going to pick him in comp if your support doesn't know how to play him, or if you just want to like have fun in ranked, maybe then you can play Ymir. But I'd probably steer away from using him in solo. Just play him in support, really.
I do like my Ymir solo. It's quite fun.
Well, Zhong Kui is the final one. He's been seeing some quite hefty buffs recently, and I think he's been getting seen in SPL recently, in mid. But you could argue that his solo lane is even better than his mid because he gets procs from his passive, and his damage has been buffed so much recently, and his ult is pretty good. If you get Blink Aegis on Zhong Kui in a team fight, it is very good damage. His wave play is very, very good. Apart from that, after using your 1 and your 2, you're kind of useless. You can't really outbox someone, but you can stalemate the lane. The Blink Aegis in team fights is very useful, and you can do a good ton of damage with Spear of the Magus as well. That procs well for his team, helping them out with that. And the procs on his passive is also helping him be a solo laner as well.
Yeah, the real issue with Zhong is that in late game, he's kind of weird. Late game for sure, his card into 3 for that like 2-second stun
Yes.
is ridiculous. It's just the 3 is really unreliable CC because it's weird. It goes from like left all the way around to left again.
Have you
As a
ever
three-
missed
as a
a
3/6.
Zhonghui 3?
I don't know if I have,
I don't think I have.
but it's one of those abilities that could come out really early and instantly stun, or it could just be like last second stun.
Yeah, true. I understand what you mean by that.
It's like just make it just done around you, but
Yeah.
it's not.
I guess so. That would be a good buff for him, but I think A tier probably suits him, right?
I would say A tier, maybe B plus. I don't think he's
Yeah, maybe B
peaking
plus.
A plus at all.
No. Well, that completes our solo lane tier list. I'm pretty happy with this end result. I think everything looks in place. So I'll finish off this video by saying thank you all for watching, and I really enjoyed doing these type of videos, and I hope to do more of these in the future. And I will soon be starting a to Z series by using all of these characters that you see here, going from A to Z, using them in a solo lane and doing kind of like a play-by-play tutorial kind of thing on my channel, so stay tuned for that coming soon. And apart from that, I'll say thank you for joining me, Saltboy. It's been a pleasure doing this tier list with you.
Yeah, it's been so pleasurable.
It's been so pleasurable. And apart from that, I'll say thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video, guys. Peace.